Stephanie White just confirmed what we've all been seeing, and it's about touching everything in the WNBA. After months of silence, she finally admitted there's a real problem with how referees treat Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. But here's the shocking part. This confession might have only happened because of a lawsuit threat that has the entire league terrified. Stay tuned, because what I'm about to show you will blow your mind. So, here's what just happened that has the WNBA in mode. The Wall Street Journal just dropped an explosive article titled "The WNBA and Caitlin Clark's Civil Rights." And let me tell you, this has sent shockwaves through the entire league. Within hours of this article dropping, suddenly Stephanie White is on ESPN, speaking more fondly about Caitlin Clark than she ever has before. Coincidence? I think not. This looks like damage control at its finest, and we're about to break down exactly why the timing of White's sudden change of tone is absolutely suspicious. Let's start with what we've all been witnessing this season, what I'm calling the black whistle situation with the Indiana Fever. And before anyone gets confused, I'm not talking about racism. I'm talking about the dark, confusing, and completely biased officiating that has been plaguing this team all season long. Here are the facts that nobody can deny. Every single game, opposing teams shoot more free throws than the Fever. Every single game, opponents get more favorable foul calls. Caitlin Clark gets hammered without calls, while players on other teams get superstar treatment. The Fever consistently faced what can only be described as hostile officiating. This isn't just fan perception. This is statistical reality. And now, finally, we have Stephanie White acknowledging there's a serious problem with unbiased officiating. But here's what's really interesting about the timing. Check this out. The Wall Street Journal article about Caitlin Clark's civil rights drops, and immediately after we see this complete 180 from Stephanie White, she goes from barely defending her superstar player to suddenly giving glowing interviews about Clark on ESPN. Look at what viewers are saying in the comments, and these are her own fans calling her rot. She's doing this because of the potential lawsuit from CC. It's called Protect Joe A. This is damage control. The timing for this to appear after US article is a giveaway. WSJ caused this interview. The fans aren't buying it, and neither should you. When a major publication like the Wall Street Journal starts talking about civil rights violations in professional sports, that's when lawyers start paying attention. That's when the league office starts making phone calls. That's when coaches suddenly find their voices. Now, let's break down White's ESPN interview by word, because what she's saying, and more importantly, what she's not saying, tells us everything we need to know. When asked about the officiating troubles, White says, "We just want accountability, right? We want everybody to continue to grow." Notice how deep that is. She's not calling out specific referees. She's not mentioning the obvious targeting of Clark. She's speaking in corporate prov language that won't get her in trouble with the league office. But then she drops this bombshell. "I think as players, you will always be as physical as they will allow. Any edge that you can get to win a ball game, you're going to take advantage of it. And I think the physicality is because it's bangalowed to be that way." There it is. She's essentially confirming that players are targeting Caitlin Clark because the referees are allowing it. When refs don't call fouls on daters plays, players get more aggressive. When officials let physicality slide, it becomes assault. White just confirmed that the WNBA has created an environment where players know they can get away with targeting certain players, specifically Caitlin Clark. Here's something that should terrify everyone, but the league wants to keep quiet. Look at these injury statistics. Thus a projected 138% increase over last season if the trend We're looking at an injury epidemic, and it's directly connected to let them play officiating philosophy that White just admitted exists. Caitlin Clark has played only 13 out of 29 games this season. 13. The league's biggest star, the player bringing unprecedented viewers and revenue, has missed more than half the season due to injuries. And we're supposed to believe this is just coincidence. When viewers see Clark missing this many games, they're saying things like, "This is the longest Caitlin Clark has been away from basketball, probably in her whole career, going back to Pee Wee basketball. This isn't normal wear and tear. This is the result of systematic judging that refs refuse to stop." Let's be honest about what's really happening here. We've seen the eye pokes, the flagrant fouls, the knuckles when Clark gets hammered. But the referees aren't just missing calls, they're enabling this behavior. Hair swat, one viewer pointed out, the reason they allow the physicality is to fix the games, encourage the players to foul all them, and then call a few fouls in case situations. Think about that. If Yao went to control the outcome of games, you don't call obvious fouls through the game, then you make selective calls in crucial moments. It's the perfect way to manipulate results while maintaining plausible deniability. The targeting of Clark isn't just about jealousy from Wyther players, it's about league control. Clark's popularity threatens the established power structure. She brings attention that the league can't control, so they allow the targeting to continue, hoping to either humble her or push her out entirely. So, why is Stephanie White suddenly speaking up now? Why not months ago, when theta getting was just as obvious? The ends were as simple. Legal pressure. When the Wall Street Journal starts talking about civil rights violations, they opens the door for federal investigations. That brings in lawyers who specialize in discrimination cases. That puts the entire WNBA under a microscope. They desperately want to avoid. Viewers are seeing right through this sudden change. Definitely scared off that article. Look at the way she keeps looking straight into the camera to seem so sincere. Don't trust her at all. I've never heard Coach Stephanie White speak so fondly of Caitlin ever before than she did on that quick ESPN interview panel. White's damage control is so biased that even casual fans are recalling it out. She's trying to rewrite a history, but the internet doesn't forget. We have months of footage showing her failing to protect her superstar player. Here's what makes this wall situation even more insane. The Indiana Fever are currently on their longest winning streak since 2012, and they are doing it without their best. They just beat the Minnesota Lynx, the #1 team in the league. For the Commissioner Cup, they're 1.5 games back from second place in Thessaloniki. Kelsey Mitchell and Olia Boston are averaging 19 and 15 points per game, respectively. This proves something crucial. When Caitlin Clark isn't on the court getting targeted by refs and opposing players, this team can actually play basketball. They have a chemistry, they have talent, and they can compete with anyone. But the moment Clark steps back on the court, theta getting resumed, the nanals return, the physicality gets turned up to 11. It's almost like certain elements within the WNBA prefer when their biggest star isn't playing. Whereas Kathy and all of this, the WNBA commissioner has been silent while her league's biggest star gets systematicalized. She's been silent while injury rates skyrocket. She's been silent while Finns abandon the product due to obviously biased officiating. As one viewer pointed out, Kathy is not in good shape. If the lawsuit against the one Bever happened, there are people who have veto testify. The commissioner's silence isn't just negligence, it's complicity. When you have the power to address obvious problems and you choose not to, you become part of the problem. So, what does all this mean for Caitlin Clark's future in the WNBA? Based on viewer comments, fans are starting to see past Clark has options. Play in Europe for more money and less sebus, or work on her golf game and join the LPGA. She can clean up on endorsements, less thuggery there. Think about that. Fans are literally suggesting that the league's biggest would be better off leaving because that environment is so toxic. When your own fans are saying your superstar should quit, you failed as a professional sports league. Clark could make more money overseas with better treatment. She could pivot to golf where her competitive drive would be celebrated, not punished. She has options that don't involve dealing with WNBA referees who seem determined to end her career. Here's why the Wall Street Journal article is so significant. It opens the door for real legal action. When a major publication starts talking about civil rights violations, that's not just journalism, that's legal groundwork. Viewers are already talking about it. Caitlin Clark and her agents would sue the WNBA, and Stephanie White personally. Someone needs to get sued. They now CC and her agent are going to sue the whole league. And now they start making nice things about her. The threat of a federal civil rights lawsuit will be devastating for the WNBA. It would expose internal communications, force depositions from coaches and referees, and potentially result in massive financial penalties. More importantly, it would force the legato actually address the systematic troubles they've been ignoring. This isn't just about Caitlin Clark. This is about a league-wide culture problem. That are words mediocrity and punish. When your biggest star is irritating, targeted instead of protected, when coaches stay silent instead of speaking up, When commissioners ignore your obvious problems, you don't have a professional sports league, you have a dysfunctional organization. Look at what viewers are saying about the overall product. The WNBA is a clown show, and if nothing changes, it will always be a clone show. This league's management, ungrowing, is still unbelievably bad. The fans, who should be the WNBA's biggest supporters, are calling for complete organization change. That's not sustainable for any business, let alone one that depends on fan engagement and media attention. Here's something the WNBA doesn't want you to know. European women's basketball leagues often pay better than the WNBA, with less drama and more professional officiating. Players like Clark could make serious money overseas while playing in environments that actually protect their of enabling targeting. The threat of star players leaving for Europe should terrify the WNBA, but instead, they continue creating conditions that push talent away. When your own fans are suggesting your biggest star should leave the country to find better treatment, you've lost that bit entirely. So, what's the solution? First, the WNBA needs to acknowledge they have a massive problem. Stephanie White's damage control interview isn't now. We need real accountability. Second, there need to be consequences for referees who consistently make calls. When officials enable targeting, they should lose their jobs. When they show clear bias against specific teams or players, they should be investigated and potentially. Third, coaches like Stephanie White need to decide whether they're going to protect their players or protect their relationships with league officials. You can't do both when the system is rigged. Finally, if the WNBA won't police itself, then federal might be necessary. Civil rights lawsuits exist for exactly this type of systematic discrimination. The comments on these videos tell the real story. Viewers aren't buying the damage control, they see through the sudden change in tone. They recognize that fear of legal action, not genuine concern, is driving these recent statements. She hasn't said anything like this until that WSJ article. This is cover. Wouldn't need her confirmation on what we can all see with our own eyes. She is too little, too late. I can't even stand to listen to her. Sorry, so annoying. Feel like she's OKC getting beat up. These aren't casual fans. These airy people who follow the league closely enough to comment on videos. When your core audience is calling out obvious hypocrisy, you've lost credibility. That might never come back. Stephanie White sudden change of tune isn't growth. It is damage control, motivated by legal fear. The Wall Street Journal article about Kate Clark's civil rights has forced the WNBA to confront problems they've been ignoring for months. But here's the thing, it might be too late. When your biggest star has missed half the season due to targeting, you refuse to stop. When injury rates are skyrocketing, duetto officiating, you refuse to fix. When fans are telling your superstar to leave league entirely, you've created problems that can't be solved with a few diplomatic interviews. The WNBA is at a crossroads. They can either address these systematic issues honestly and comprehensively, or they can continue with damage control and watch their credibility disappear entirely. Caitlin Clark deserves better. The fans deserve it. The sport deserves better. What do you think? Is Stephanie White's sudden change of heart genuine? Or is this just damage control after the Wall Street Journal article? Do you think Caitlin Clark should consider playing overseas, where she might get better treatment and more money? Let me know in the comments below, and be honest about what you think is really driving these sudden changes in the WNBA. If you want to stay updated on this developing, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. This situation is evolving rapidly, and there are definitely more revelations coming. Thanks for watching, and remember, when leagues stop protecting their stars, fans stop supporting the product. The WNBA better figure that out quickly, or they might lose the best thing that ever happened to them. I'll see you in the next